got done watching Young, Wild, Free. And let me tell you right now, this directorial debut at Sundance Film Festival is fantastic. This is the type of movie that I watch and get inspired that I can make a movie. And I absolutely was very surprised by this movie. It's not perfect, but it is a great directorial debut, and I'm very excited to talk about this today. So if you are new here, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, comment down below your guys' thoughts, and let's get into this. Young, Wild, Free is about being a teenager is rough, and Brandon, played by Algee Smith, of course you probably know him from Euphoria, is no different. Between struggling in school and caring for his two younger siblings and having just been let go from his job, Brandon often uses his art as an escape from the coughness of his subdued day-to-day life. Enter Cassidy, played by Capri, who is from On My Block. I know a lot of people are fans of that show. Is a bedazzled bad girl, dripping in confidence, freedom, and danger. Lured in by her whimsy, Brandon teams up with Cassidy, seamlessly seeping into the role of Clyde to her Bonnie as they make their way down an increasingly perilous path. Now, this very much does have a Bonnie and Clyde vibe to it, but all taking place from a teenager perspective and growing up in the hood. But watching this movie, I love the depiction of how they were able to bring it to life, and I also was just very brilliantly brought together in so many different avenues. So with that said, let's jump into the pros on this. And the first thing I want to talk about is actually the directing here from Phoebe Banks, who, this is a first-time directorial debut. She's done some short films, which now I'm actually interested in going and watching. And what I liked was this movie very much reminded me of Queen and Slim. Not in the same vibe of Bonnie and Clyde, but the thing that I love about Queen and Slim was the vibe that it gave, and as well as the depiction and the way that it actually crafted that story. And what I love that Banks did here is she took a script, which I have issues with some of the elements in the script, some paper-thin stuff, which we'll talk about, but she took the script, she developed this concept, and she made it her own into a film that has its own vision and directorial stamp on it. I would go as far as to say there is no other film that I've seen so far in the last few months that feel directly like this. And I like the vibe, the way that she infused style and visual storytelling devices to pump your heart and make you stressed out, but at the same time feel for this character. And I thought what Banks did with the script here is what a director should do in elevating. A paper-thin script can be there, but the way that Banks is able to elevate that to that next level was what I thought was most craftively, really much special here. And I'm trying to be very vague because there is some twists and turns in here that I genuinely did not see coming. There's some hints to it, especially once you get towards the back half. But once you actually see what the entire film is about, I went and said, oh shit. And I'm like, that is brilliant. A lot of that is because of Banks' directing, and I cannot wait to see what she does next. Along the likes of, I thought the performances in here were great. Now, I really am a big fan of Algee Smith. I like the role of McKay in Euphoria. Sadly, they did not give him shit to do in season 2, and that's kind of why he was really only in it for one episode. But what they actually give him in here to do is phenomenal and actually shows his acting range and his capability. Again, rising above a script that I found was a little bit dire, but he was incredible. And his chemistry with the likes of Capri was beautiful and stunning. And for me, they have great chemistry with one another. But you do see this Bonnie and Clyde relationship that does come about to be within them, and you kind of believe it, especially being a teenager that's growing up in his situation and the issues that arise throughout that. But what I was most impressed by was how seamless this relationship felt. At first, it comes about so fast, and you're like, what? But seamlessly, they have brilliant chemistry that just makes them jive with one another. And completely, you forget about certain things, and I loved it. But what else I want to mention with that as well is, of course, the cinematography, the score, the soundtrack, and everything else that they can really depict in here. I was very impressed with Young, Wild, Free, and this is the type of movie that, again, inspires filmmakers to get into the business and actually start telling their own stories as well. And I'm excited to see what visionaries come after this. I'm excited to see what Banks does after this. But what I want to talk about is the script. So the script is not bad. It's good. But where I have issues at is, like I mentioned, there's some twists and turns in here. You're going to be like, holy shit. But once you get to those points, some of the elements leading into there are quite obvious, which do ramp up because you know something is coming. But what I think really held the film back just a hair was some of the ideas that it had. I actually kind of wish the film was a little bit longer because I feel like once this thing happens, there's a lot of questions that I have. Not about how it's realistically taken, but I wanted a little bit more development on what its overall message was. And I think that's about it. That would have really tied up everything and overall brought this to a different light. And some of the dialogue is a little bit hit or miss at times. It's a little bit basic, but again, this is when you go and look at a director and you're like, this is a stellar directorial debut. Elevating the script to that next level and having great performances along the way. Holy shit, Algee Smith and Sierra Capri are fierce, powerful, and stellar in Young Wild Free. A heartbreaking character study that is a great directorial debut for Thambi Banks. Might have found the script to be a bit thin at points, but the direction and acting held it above all else, and I thought this was a great film, and I cannot wait to talk more about this later in the future. That said, I'm going to give Young Wild Free a B+. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. You guys are really all the best. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. More Sundance reviews coming soon. And, of course, until next time, stay classy.